I think you should practice singing so that you can
give us
become an Elvis cover impersonator.
Give us a little cover.
Viva Las Vegas.
That's pretty good. Hey everyone, welcome back to District of Cinema. We are finally returned. We're not in the studio, obviously, but
we're in my house.
We're in Koz's house for a special summer episode because it is the summer of movies. Our last episode was about our most anticipated movies. Did we talk about the one we're going to talk about today?
No, because I don't think any of us brought it up. I don't think it was on the list of movies coming out this summer.com. So,
well, if you can't really tell,
I don't think they can. I have no idea. I mean, look cohesive right now.
It's pretty good. We are Elvis themed because we're going to talk about the king himself. Well, the king of rock and roll, I guess. The king himself, Elvis, and his movie that he definitely did not star in. It was Austin Butler instead. But yeah, we are doing a special video episode because we are a little dressed up. We have 1, 2, and 3 cameras and some beautiful mics. So yeah.
Thank you, SOC, for helping us.
Should we talk about first I think we should talk about the costumes and like where the inspirations come from.
Yeah.
So
you go first.
Sure, I can go first. Yeah. I went for a young Elvis aesthetic because I don't have the materials to pull off the old Elvis. And yeah, I think I need to go through some like post-grad trauma to be able to affect Elvis's sort of like morphine-addled personality. So yeah, Koz.
I'm well, I on such quick notice because Tristan brought out this episode and was like, "We're dressing up, by the way," like really
Elvis
quickly.
Inspired. Yeah.
So
we had like one day.
Yeah, you literally. So we didn't even know we were gonna film an episode on this. We saw the movie together because we were like, "That'll be fun." And then the next day, Tristan was like, "Costumes now, episode tomorrow." like so put together. But clearly, he knew. What he was
Tristan
doing.
was planning this for like a month.
I had been waiting for this moment since I saw that Elvis got a 7-minute standing ovation at Cannes. Or was it 12 minutes? I don't know.
Oh, really?
It was quite long.
Okay.
It was very long. So I've been waiting for this moment. I'm not even that big of an Elvis fan. But
I mean, yeah, I wasn't either. But I took inspiration from Priscilla Presley, who on her own accord is a fashion icon. But she wore some pretty cool outfits in this movie. And I like that it spanned a few decades. This dress is actually from the 90s. It's from a now defunct clothing store because I love finding secondhand dresses online that people still found in the back of their closets. But yeah, I'm using it to kind of mimic 70s silhouette. And then I did her makeup kind of slightly, not slowly. But a fun fact about that is that Priscilla talks about in her autobiography, apparently, that Elvis always did her makeup. Which,
really?
Yeah, I thought was really interesting.
Well, he did his own makeup
weird.
a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like, give himself some smoky eyes.
Well, he apparently knew exactly what he wanted her to wear all the time and did her makeup. And I was like, to some degree, I respect that. To some degree, I question that. But, cool.
That really encapsulates
Elvis, yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah.
And
it's my outfit.
For me, I guess I am like the young showboaty Elvis.
Yeah.
Before he goes chunky in Las Vegas. So
You're like movie Elvis.
Yeah, like movie Elvis or like a TV show Elvis. I guess I don't know. We watched the movie, but I still don't know. But yeah, I even did. I have to shout out my beautiful girlfriend for doing my makeup today and my hair because I can't really do that myself. So we did. I'll do it in this cam with the hair. They can see that and the sideburns that are drawn on because I can't grow facial hair that well. So yeah, that's
Tristan.
What?
I was just giving you a little
thank you
motif there.
Thanks. But yeah, that's me. Okay. So Koz said, we watched the movie together on the weekend and
Sunday.
I think firstly, were we all excited about it, going to see it? Legitimately.
I thought it would be funny.
You thought it'd be funny?
It was, yeah.
It was
funnier than I thought it would be.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we were all kind of on the skeptical page. I like Baz Luhrmann a lot from The Great Gatsby. Can't remember the year, 2013 maybe. But
I think so.
Yeah, we talked about that. I love that movie. So I was excited to see this because I like him as a director. But I also did not think it was going to be that great because I'm not a big Elvis fan. So I was just not really like, oh, wow, this is going to be the movie of the century.
Yeah. I think because that was his last movie, right? Great Gatsby. So Baz Luhrmann hasn't made a movie in 9 years. 2022.
Yeah, and I think there were a lot of stylistic things that he does a lot that make it very obvious that it's his movie.
Oh yeah. Oh for sure. I've also seen only Great Gatsby, so I thought, and I didn't really like it, so I thought that this was just going to be, like Spenser said, kind of funny to watch, like kind of over the top and everything, and it was for sure.
Yeah, there were. Yeah,
but yeah. So I guess the next question is, did we actually enjoy it?
More than I thought I would.
I enjoyed Austin Butler's performance, obviously. That's the only thing
I think he's like a Disney star, a former Disney star, right?
Yeah.
Zoe 101 and Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure. I think we figured out he was in.
What is that?
Like a High School Musical like sequel thing.
Yeah.
Like a spin-off?
Yeah, kind of.
Wow. Cool. Yeah. I thought it was really interesting. Like he's really good. Like people are saying that he's won the leading Oscar like already at this stage. I'm like, well, maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but
he probably will. I mean,
he'll definitely get a nomination
based on the trajectory of like musical biopic leading actors.
I feel like at the Oscars to get the award for the best performance, all you have to do is like be accurate, like Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Right.
Like that's a terrible movie,
right?
But he was good as Freddie.
I was afraid that this movie was going to be like Bohemian Rhapsody in many ways.
Yeah,
and
Not
I
at
think
all.
No, right?
No, not at all.
I feel like it is still like I think any biopic has to be sort of formulaic to a sense. If you're telling a story about someone's life.
You only have so much time.
Yeah, but I thought that what Elvis does a lot is it shows like 3 different scenes at one time, all like cutting into each other.
Yeah,
and usually I think it's very it still is head spinning, but I think that it kind of works because you have a lot of this sort of energetic music behind it to fuel it.
Right.
So I think it works in this sense.
Well, I think that was the thing about his career too, is a lot of the time you look at it and it stopped and started and stopped and started, and it's like he, went from 0 to 100 and then back down and then back up and then back down. And so in between those time frames, it's like his career was moving so quickly that it kind of made sense to me that they would like make phrases like that, just because it seemed true to how his career moved. But
Right. How about you, Spenser? Did you enjoy the movie?
I can talk about what Koz was talking about. I think a lot of people, the thing that's like one of the most divisive things is Baz Luhrmann and the editing that's going on in this movie, because it will give you nausea within like 30 minutes.
Do you think he'll be nominated alongside Hank Corwin next year?
Do you think it's as egregious as Hank Corwin's editing?
No, but I think
because there's artistic meaning behind it. So.
Yeah, it's chaotic for a purpose. It's not just a guy like pressing buttons.
like a kid on a.
Can we not make this another roast of Hank Corwin?
Okay, I'll try not to. Bring... He's just, he's so.
Okay, but
I just love him.
Season 3, we're moving away from Hank
Season
Corwin.
3.
Season 3.
Yeah, sure.
When did we get to season 3 of this
when
podcast?
Did we get to season 2?
Yeah.
It's in my head.
Oh, okay. Internal. Got it. But no, I agree. I definitely agree. We got to talk. So we talk about Austin Butler. He is incredible in this movie. I think we got to talk about the other actor alongside him, the great Tom Hanks, who is he plays Colonel Tom Parker, who was Elvis's manager for over 20 years and basically like siphoned and sucked all the money from his career, putting him into awful contracts and stuff like that. So, he plays this sort of caricature kind of character. I mean, what do you guys think about Tom Hanks? Like, what is he doing?
I think it's unfortunate because they used him in one of my favorite film devices, which is making the narrator critical of the main character.
Right.
And I love when people do that. I love a good Evita. I love that structure. I think it's really good. It's really cool. Especially when you have someone that, you know, in our modern day is as controversial as Elvis. You know, this is a white man who profited off of predominantly black music. And I think that it could have been really cool. But to make it done by the person that effectively like abused Elvis his whole career and then have it played by Tom Hanks, who has done marvelous work in his career, but this was just not the role for him. Like, it was not the move. You couldn't take him seriously like the whole time. And I felt really weird about it because I was like, I think I would like this movie a lot more if I didn't feel so weird about the person whose voice I'm hearing all the time. Like, it's almost like it was a joke. Like, we were supposed to be laughing at something. Like, every time he finished a line, it trailed off like there was a punchline, but it wasn't a punchline. It was like the end of a sentence. Right. So it was super... I was just felt really conflicted about it. So, yeah.
I think one thing as well is that he has this incredible like European accent in this movie.
Scandinavian, maybe.
He's playing a character who a real person who is originally from the Netherlands. So the accent he pulls is just, you can watch the trailer, you can listen to a little bit of it yourself.
I wonder if they had a dialect coach, because that's what Nicole, my lovely roommate, brought up. She was like, I wonder, they probably had a dialect coach, did. But I was like a little interested on what
who
happened.
That was.
Yeah.
Like they hired him on like Craigslist. They ran out of like a budget and they're like, yeah, but I've never met anyone from the Netherlands, so maybe it's accurate. But
I'm sure.
You're sure?
I'm sure. I'm sure they all just run around sounding like Eric Cartman.
Yeah. Could you do a little Tom Hanks
No.
for okay.
It would be really
You can.
hard.
I could, yeah. What's
ahead.
that line? He
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
Yeah. Okay, yes. One of the pivotal plot points of this movie is the Elvis comeback Christmas show from, I think, 1968. And I didn't know that this was a pivotal moment in Elvis's life. So I was sitting there wondering, why are we sitting here watching this Christmas show for like 25, 30 minutes? I felt like it wasn't important, but apparently it was very important.
But apparently, get serious, it was.
Yeah, Christmas show. It was like, it marked his like comeback or whatever. So
and it was also him, just for context, I think also it was a point of, at least how the movie made it seem, was a point of social activism that they hadn't really seen from Elvis on a public front.
Because that was the year that I think Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes.
was killed and Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
And you know, Elvis the
Well, I think you're still at a point too where they were talking about censorship and stuff. Of
yeah,
like, you
yeah,
know,
because he had been censored or like
people in the
people would say it's the devil.
Celebrities had a lot less control over what they could and couldn't say publicly.
So yeah, so that's why he did that big song, protest song, whatever. But the whole time, Tom Parker wants him to endorse these like Christmas products for Elvis, and wants him to sing that Santa Claus song. Well, Here Comes Santa Claus.
No.
So Tom Parker is like, he's literally scurrying around this backlot studio like a rat, going like, when is he going to sing Here Comes Santa Claus? When is he going to sing Santa Claus song? Why is he not wearing the Christmas sweater? I can't take this serious. I was laughing out loud. Thank God we sat at like the back of the theater, right? Because I was having a good time.
I told Spenser once we left, I was like, I wish they had cast an actor from the country that person from the Netherlands that was like an up and coming, like, or someone who had done work, you know, over there or whatever, because I just feel like it would have been a little bit better. Like I would have been more interested in it. I would have been more like, I would have taken it more seriously, I think, if you had someone that was just a little more of a dramatic,
you know,
actor.
I don't know if you know who this actor is. Spencer, you definitely know Stellan Skarsgård.
Oh yeah, he was in Mamma Mia.
Yeah. I think he would have been a great Tom Parker.
Agreed.
Because he because Tom Hanks doesn't usually play a villainous character.
Yeah, which
It's
is
kinda
the other
hard.
hard thing.
I think he was talking, like, I was reading a review about it, and it's hard to watch him be a villain because you're
Yeah.
like, well, Tom Hanks can't be a villain.
He's like
the-
America's dad.
yeah, he's like the nicest, right? So, I think Stellan Skarsgård could have been a really. I mean, we saw him as the that guy in Dune,
Okay.
Baron Harkonnen,
Yeah,
where he's like covered in goo and everything.
it's the same
so-
costume.
It is the it's the same guy. Yes, Tom Hanks is also like covered in like prostate.
Yeah, he just
goo
runs
in
around
this movie.
covered in goo.
Yeah, so I guess it is the same.
Did I miss something?
I guess.
You know, but
I
You watched
guess.
Dune, right?
no, I never saw it.
Oh,
I don't do good with action.
that's okay. It was also really long. Like this movie. Movie was really long.
Yeah,
too.
that was the one thing before we went to see it. We were like, how the heck is this movie almost 3 hours long?
I think Bohemian Rhapsody was also almost like 2.5
Well,
hours.
I think the
Right.
risk you run, especially with musicians, is not wanting to like discredit any of the work they did within their
Right.
career, and so wanting to include as much of it as possible. But
Right.
you know, it is hard with attention spans, because when we got towards the end of Elvis, I was like, all right, enough of Graceland. It's over.
Just let him just let him go. But yeah, it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a bit, and I was reading a lot about how the movie feels very fast while also being very long.
Yeah, I
Right?
liked the Letterboxd review was like, how is this simultaneously the fastest and most like longest movie I've ever seen in my entire life, or something like that. I was like,
Right.
so true.
That like I think it's because of like that editing style where it's just
Mhm.
so quick. Shots don't last more than like 2 seconds
Yeah.
at best,
Right.
right? But also there's just a lot to cover. Like,
Yeah.
I think because you really are covering his whole life. I think told in a pretty like not exactly what's coherent or like what's that word?
Chronological.
Chronological.
Streamlined.
Like there are points where we flash back, flash forward,
Yeah.
and stuff, like little glimpses, and so that was at least interesting.
I enjoyed that part.
I remember being halfway through and being like, when's he gonna get drafted? Didn't he get drafted? And like turning to you guys and being like, was he not like in a war at some point? And then he got drafted like
And then-
immediately.
and then we were joking like, oh, there was no war going on during like when he was
Yeah, we
drafted, and then
couldn't
I
figure-
was like, oh no, yeah, there wasn't any war. There was just the Cold War. I was like, oh wait, that's a war.
We were
Um,
definitely somewhere,
yeah.
because he went somewhere.
He was in Germany.
They also then very conveniently glossed over Priscilla being 14.
Yeah.
And I was like, nice. Okay, that's
Yeah.
how we're playing
Maybe
this.
in the 4-hour cut.
Yeah.
Maybe in the-
There's apparently a 4-hour-long director cut that I really want to see. I
Release
want to
the-
know.
Release
Release
the
it.
Luhrmann cut.
They
Yeah.
cut the hour 20 of grooming out of the theatrical cut.
hmm
God.
Yeah, that's a weird story too. Well, the other thing too is we go back and forth on accuracy and biopics a lot in this this podcast, but there was definitely a lot left out of the story.
Yeah. So it was very focused on the music,
And
which is a good thing, I think.
a lot of what they did keep or put in this movie, we actually talked about earlier, but is actually highly theoretical in many cases. So I was reading on Wikipedia, the best of sources, but apparently I was just more interested about they made Elvis seem a lot like a social justice kind of
Woke king. Not
Yeah,
just-
like,
the
really
the woke
into-
king of rock and roll.
And we were kind of interested because again, your Shelby brought up that that came up a lot in reviews, and I think Elvis has very heavily been criticized in the past decade or so for like basically taking music that was established by Black writers. I mean, these were songs that were already fully written and sung and whatever, and
Right,
then
right.
producing them and essentially making the money off
Like
them.
Hound Dog.
Yeah.
I was really like that was there was a point in the movie where like Elvis listens to a black blues singer sing Hound Dog,
Right.
like her version of it, and I was like, oh, this is an original song. I didn't know that.
Most of his music, yeah. And that song, actually, that's an inaccuracy I was reading about, I'm pretty sure, was he actually got inspiration from I believe, a white male group who sang it, who took it from a black woman who
okay.
wrote it. Yeah. So it's very interesting, but a lot of his childhood that's depicted in the movie, they do know he frequented Beale Street a lot. That's true. They do know that he shopped there. That's true.
Friends with B.B. King. And,
yeah, there are things that are historically true. A lot of, though, this idea that he probably was around there a lot and at the music clubs around there is actually, we don't really know the truth about that. And some people say he probably went only on like segregated white only nights, which is interesting because obviously not how the movie played it out to be. And the movie spent a lot of time focusing on his like life within that community, and I think it is interesting that I was reading that a lot of it was like theoretical and we just don't know, which again, you know, could change people's opinions of Elvis if this is the only research they're doing. I'm probably not going to go read a book about Elvis. I don't feel that compelled to, but you know, I was like, oh, that's interesting, you know, I'd like to know more about the fact behind that.
I think you could see it as a little bit revisionist.
Oh yeah,
for sure. I think I first was very skeptical when I watched the trailer, and a big point of like one of the trailers that they released initially for this movie was like there was a flash like, oh, Martin Luther King has died, and like Colonel Tom Parker's like, it has nothing to do with us, and then and then Elvis says it has everything to do with, and it's like did Elvis care that much? And I guess in this movie that's a pivotal scene in I think the 68 Christmas show part of the movie,
right?
And I guess but they actually recontextualize it in the movie in the trailer. Like he says that line in the movie about Bobby Kennedy, not Martin Luther King. So I don't know how I feel about that, how like the movie marketed it like that,
right? Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure he cared about them. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing is, I think for the most part, we don't actually really know too much because of his private life. And like, you know, we can't, you know, he wasn't keeping a diary that I know of. So it's hard to go back and kind of figure those things out. And I like to think that the people who wrote the movie did a lot of research. But again, you just never know because of the way that Hollywood tends to gloss over things or revise things. And we did know a lot about his and Priscilla's relationship from Priscilla's autobiography. She's still alive. She has children and grandchildren. So, you know, we do know a lot about that side of his life, and a lot of that was kept out of the movie. You know, he had numerous affairs, and there were probably 2 throwaway lines about that. But really, you know, it wasn't central to anything. So I do wonder then, you know, how much did they keep out about or change about other stuff?
I want to also talk about so here on this, we've done a lot of episodes, and we've done a lot of episodes about different kinds of movies. Specifically, we've done one about biopics, we've done one about musicals. This movie is the sort of merge of those two. Do you think that it strays more towards being a musical, biopic? Can it be both? Does one sort of overpower the other? What do you guys think?
Spenser loves musicals. I typically qualify musical as something where music advances the plot in a way that like the text dialogue isn't doing. And I don't really feel like this did that in any way. I feel like the plot was not progressed by the music. It was just like, oh, I just banged this thing. Sorry, everyone. It was just like isolated performances. I do love that Doja Cat was kept in the movie. I thought that was just going to be like one of those things where they put it on the soundtrack and she wasn't in there. Loved it. Was really excited about that when that actually played. I was like, cool, because they were marketing the heck out of that song.
Right, they were.
So I was glad. But Baz Luhrmann does a really good job with the music in that aspect. I think he takes artists who are really big. I don't know if that's necessarily him, but maybe the music coordinator that he works with. But he did it with Gatsby too, where he had really big artists do covers of songs from that period. And I really liked that a lot of the people on this album were Black artists who were then asked to do the songs of Elvis, and I thought that was really appropriate. And
Sway Lee as well. And
yeah, definitely really cool.
I like that definition of a musical because I think I agree. But I thought that, like I said it before, I wasn't really an Elvis fan. So kind of like the music is good. Like
kind of
really,
slapped.
It kind of slaps. And my uncle, my grandfather, like also really love Elvis, and Elvis was like the definition of like American culture for them back in like Malaysia in like the 50s and 60s. So like they would like
Wow.
slick back their hair like I've done today.
Oh my gosh.
And like wear leather jackets
Uh-huh.
and like be like total like greaser guys, like
Yeah.
try to embody the Elvis.
I've been watching a lot of Asian cinema recently, and there's a lot of like when they're depicting the 50s and 60s, there's like pictures of Elvis and Marilyn Monroe all over all their
Yeah.
walls, and like greasers, like the sailor aesthetic. Like there's this one guy that I saw in the movie A Brighter Summer Day that's like the leader of a gang, and he wears a leather jacket and a sailor's cap wherever he goes in like the middle of Taiwan.
And it's like set in like the 50s or something,
Yeah,
right?
50s and 60s.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I think Elvis just as a cultural icon is like so just influential.
Right.
And that's kind of crazy. Like I didn't realize like a lot of songs that I didn't know were by like that were either performed by Elvis that made him famous or whatever. Like I realized that ending song in Lilo and Stitch is Elvis. Burning Love.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Is that the Santa take me higher?
Yeah.
Well,
That song slaps. And I was like, I didn't know this was Elvis.
I only knew of Elvis because there's a jukebox musical called All Shook Up that is all Elvis songs, and I saw
Sounds
it
about
and I
right.
was like, this is pretty fun, and I didn't realize they were all Elvis songs, and then I was like, oh, cool. But that was my only like knowledge of Elvis pre this movie getting marketed, because
Right.
he's just not our generation. Like I feel like I told Tristan when I was younger and I would go to Halloween parties, most of the dads would be dressed as Elvis, but that's like the only like idea I had of what Elvis was. Like I just didn't know other than that and didn't really care, to be honest, because I was like, what is, like, he doesn't really affect me. But
Right.
you know, I do. Yeah, the music kind of, I was listening to It's All Right Mama or whatever,
Yeah.
like on repeat the other day because it was just stuck in my head after seeing this movie.
The song that was stuck in my head is the final song, which is actually a cover from another band, like that from another band, but that last song that he performs before the movie ends, Unchained Melody.
Oh yeah, that's one of his more famous ones, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that song. So like, I mean, it's good music. I think they take advantage of that in the movie, like
Oh,
how good the music is.
absolutely.
like by playing with the edits and just keeping it fast paced, and just the sound design and everything. Like this movie for sure is gonna get sound awards and all over, and I think it deserves it.
I
for
like
right
that
now,
they
but-
didn't overuse Can't Help Falling in Love too. I thought that they could have abused that song in that movie.
Yeah, it's
And
true.
they did a lot more orchestral work with it than I think actually playing
Yeah.
the song, which definitely worked in their favor because they would play like motifs from that song, but not the song. And I think it made it resonate more because you weren't like, oh, this again. Like every other movie.
There really
ever.
is like every kind of music in this movie.
Yeah.
There's like you said, the Doja Cat comes in with that like fat.
It was
bass line.
so good too. Like he's like walking
He's just
down the
walking
street
around.
looking at clothes, and I'm like, yeah, okay. This is how I feel. Like I like it.
And like like a lot of some orchestral like scores.
Yeah,
and
which-
rock and roll swing and all these other. It's really like it is really fun just to listen to. It is. I mean, I think the movie is. There's definitely not a perfect movie.
Oh no. Not
but
by any
I thought it
extent.
was definitely entertaining.
I want to go to Japan and Europe.
Yeah,
Was
he
that-
really wanted to. That was one of the bigger plot points where Elvis wants to go on tour. 'cause
But they
he
ask
sees
him
the-
where he
To,
wants to go, and he goes Japan and Europe. I was like, what?
Yeah,
The two places.
yeah, Japan and Europe. That's what he said. Nowhere else. But he ended up not
Tampa.
going.
And then he went to Tampa.
Yeah, then
he
he
went
went
to
to Tampa.
which is close enough, I think.
Yes.
Well,
I'm trying, there were so many weird lines in that movie that I'm trying to think of. The one, the hayride, you wouldn't shut up after the "he's white" line where they played the record and then
right.
Tom
Oh,
Hanks finds out he's white. And he's like, he's white.
Yeah,
And then it, like,
no, yeah,
took
like
us.
Tom Parker goes like first he goes because
You laughed for
Because
like
they're
6
play-
minutes. I felt
This
bad
is
for
the-
the one
this is
guy
the
who's like sitting next to us.
This is the first scene in the movie. It's literally the first scene in the movie.
It is.
And like it's when Tom Parker hears Elvis's voice for the first time on the radio. And everyone thinks that like he thinks that it's a black musician singing.
Yeah.
And the guy it's Cody Smith McPhee from Power of the Dog.
That is the same guy.
And he goes like,
Oh.
no, Colonel, he's white. And like
They give him like this huge dramatic shot.
this is like this. Oh my god, like this, this dolly zoom into Tom Parker's face. He goes like, he's white, and then he like thinks for a second and goes, he's white,
and then jump cut. It was so bizarre. That was one of the points of the movie where I was like, this is not going to be good. I was like, whatever comes next cannot be good.
The script I think is god awful.
Oh no,
like, it's
yeah.
funny. Like it's really funny.
Really
and I think
good.
any like biopic
They
movie,
really struggle.
because you have to say so much in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Of like no scene can really extend to more than like 2 minutes because you have so much stuff to show and do.
And
So
they sped up so many parts of this movie.
Yeah.
Like the part where Priscilla was just throwing drugs at Elvis.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm leaving. And I was like, where did this come from?
yeah, or like that time that you spent in Hollywood making movies and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was kind of glossed over.
I was like, I don't know a single movie that they like. I don't know if they mentioned a movie he was in.
Exactly.
The montage during that sequence was like the opening credits of Austin Powers.
Yes. Yes.
When they're
like,
singing Viva Las Vegas.
and like overlays and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
When they're on like the VW bus.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
But and there were a ton of just all these match cuts. Baz Luhrmann loves match cuts.
That's enough newspaper.
It was always like
cutouts,
picture to like a newspaper,
I
like
know.
a word, like yeah. It was a lot.
Well, it was like a comic strip, and there was literally a comic strip section.
There was.
I think that goes into one of my biggest criticisms of the movie, as maybe I think this is probably a pitfall that's easy to get into when you are doing a biopic, particularly about someone who's very well known. But I didn't know anything about Elvis's life, like pre this movie. And there were parts where they would state that something happened, and then I would be like, okay. And then they wouldn't elaborate. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then they never elaborated. I'm trying to think. There would be like one-off sentences mentioned. Like, okay, Graceland. Okay, we're all here. I know Graceland through Phoebe Bridgers' song Graceland 2. That is my only touch base of Graceland. I had to look up that Elvis lived there. I didn't know that. That was not something that was common knowledge to me. Right. Maybe I'm out of the loop, but I don't know if I am. And he buys this house and they never say like, this is Graceland. And then like 2 minutes later, he's like back at Graceland. And I was like, if I didn't know what Graceland was, I'd be like, what is he talking about?
I had no idea that was Graceland or what Graceland was until after the movie when I searched
See,
it.
that's what I'm saying.
So.
Like, he kept talking about Graceland then, and I'd be like, I know that's his house, but like that seemed to me in my mind, I probably made this up, like a name it was given afterwards. Like I didn't know that Elvis called it Graceland, so I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, that's the thing. I didn't know he called it Graceland either. I thought it was a name
posthumously given or however you say that word, to his house because it's now a museum.
Yeah,
which I would go, by the way. Now I'm kind of interested. I'm like, I want to go see it. I also don't know what else is probably around there that you'd like make a trip out to go see.
Memphis. Right? Is it
I don't know if it's in Memphis though. Oh. And I don't know. Places in the South tend to be really spread out. They're not as like drivable as up here.
That's true.
But yeah, there were definitely like moments like that where I was like, you definitely, and stuff with his mom and like where the money was coming from or like what performances were happening that were making him so rich. No idea. Had no clue. I didn't know those things. Those facts were never filled in for me. Like, it was definitely something where I was like, oh, he definitely got very rich in the past, like, scene, but I'm not sure why or how. And I think that was something that's probably, because so many people do know the story of Elvis, I don't think they wanted to, like, recite that information for you as to not make it boring. But for people like me and you, and I'm sure, I don't know how much you knew about Elvis.
I knew all the stuff you just said. None of that bothered me.
Oh, okay. But
It's okay.
for people who didn't know much about Elvis, then I feel like this was just like a weird like
Well, I think one
jump.
of the issues that I think biopic writers come up with is like, how do I make this movie not a like walking Wikipedia page?
Right.
And I don't know if this movie exactly escapes that, but it definitely tries.
Yeah. And I think in that respect, I can appreciate it because, like, again, when it's someone like, so what did you think since you knew everything?
I'm glad you said it like that. What did I think about which parts? Just the parts
Just
you were
in
talking
general,
about?
yeah, the sped up kind of fast forward.
Yeah, it
parts.
didn't bother me because I thought if they were gonna spend that much time on everything, it would just be the 4-hour cut.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why the Christmas special thing went on for 8 hours, but I thought that everything else was given like an okay amount of time. Nothing was perfect about it, but
Right. Well, that was the other thing too, is I think with the Christmas special, the part we both struggled with was we didn't know that was his comeback to music.
Yeah.
So we were like, what the heck are they doing spending like half of
he
this
just
movie?
likes Christmas. Baz
Yeah, we
Luhrmann
were
likes
like,
Christmas.
why is it Chris? Like the fake snow and like all the dancers, and we were like, what is going on? And then even the jump cut from that into the I guess residency show
In Vegas?
in Vegas. No, where they had the like dancing, and then they had like 3 different styles of dancing, and then do you remember the part I was talking about where they had like the different colored backgrounds and then the 3 dancing styles and then Elvis. Yeah, I wasn't sure what had happened in between those 2 points. Like, did he start doing more shows or was that part of the other show?
That's the thing. Like, I think that movie is like kind of a blur. Like, it's all kind of like like a colorful, kaleidoscopic like blah right now.
Sensory overload.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that after the Christmas show, he like gets famous again, right? And does all these shows, and that's why, like, and then they wanted him to do this residency in Vegas, just to promote the hotel. That's what happened. Like, is that the montage scene then into the Vegas? Okay. I think I don't remember. I don't exactly think I will go to the theater very soon to watch it again.
I was gonna go tonight. Then we diverted that plan and we're seeing Mr. Malcolm's List, I think, instead. Yeah,
another sort of revisionist. Well, in a different way.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that's the thing with biopics though, is they tend to be revisionist and they don't take credit for being revisionist.
Yeah, they're like, nope, this is what happened.
This is Elvis.
And I think what's interesting is that a lot of people aren't gonna, like you said, read a book about Elvis or whatever. So this is really their, like, the easiest way to learn about Elvis's life.
Right.
Instead of reading
the Wikipedia page is,
but
it's pretty long though. That's the thing. I went to answer one question. I was like, was Elvis Presley really social justice warrior ally? Like, want to know. So I go on just to figure that out. Like, and the part about that was still like 4 or 5 paragraphs long, and most of it was highly theoretical. So I was like, okay.
So we don't know.
Yeah. But no, I don't know how many people are going to be like, oh, I just saw this movie for 3 hours. Let me go solve all the questions that I still have. Yeah. Like, I don't know if people are going to care that much.
Yeah. Like, most likely, especially if you're a fan of Elvis already, you'll be like, okay, awesome.
Thanks for the validation of
he
my
makes good music. Oh,
interest.
And he's supported. So, like, whatever. But yeah, I think we can wrap it up here because we're pushing a bit long. I think we should end the episode. Sorry. Well, we just love Elvis now. Obviously, it's evident by our getup. Don't you think?
What?
Don't you think?
Do your Elvis impression.
Yeah, now we're gonna do Elvis impressions.
Okay.
So maybe Spencer should go last.
Spencer's is really good. Yeah.
Should I go first?
What do you want me to say?
I can't even do it. My voice is that low.
Say, I don't know.
Colonel.
Huh?
You have strung me dry.
You sound like you're in a Western.
Yeah, thank you. I can't. I'm not from this country. You can't.
Yeah, if you're born in America, you automatically can do an Elvis Presley impersonation.
That's right.
That's the thing they don't tell you.
Oh.
I'm all shook up.
Well, Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, he's so good at it.
I'm practicing.
I think you should practice singing so that you can like
Yeah, give us
become an Elvis cover impersonator.
Give us a little cover.
Viva Las Vegas.
That's pretty good.
I've been doing that in the mirror all week.
Wait, really?
Yeah. That's the song that got stuck
Spenser
in my
wakes
head.
up every morning at 6 a.m. before he goes on his run. He's like,
Oh, I'm doing it on the run for sure.
Dude, on the run.
Yeah.
everyone in DC is like, who is this man?
Just running around singing Jailhouse
I
Rock.
run around with my sideburns and my
Well, I do wonder too if this movie, before we wrap up, will revitalize some interest in Elvis and his life. Probably.
I think for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I think especially for our generation, we weren't alive when Elvis was
Big.
around or yeah, even big. So like
Or even around. Yeah, you're right. I forget how young he died. Like,
yeah.
I forget that does not overlap with us like at all.
No.
So, you know, I think
you.
for us, for our Spencer's just like 50 years old.
Spencer's 55.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that you're an undergrad, Spencer. Actually, I feel kind of uncomfortable now.
I'm all you got.
Yeah, I think especially for our generation, we don't exactly have an emotional connection
To Elvis.
to Elvis.
Yeah.
Maybe our parents do, but we don't. So I think it's interesting to see.
My parents never talked about Elvis. I don't know if I missed something, but I never.
Okay, my grandma loves Elvis. That's
Yeah,
why
okay.
I know that, like, I know more than I would want to.
Mhm.
So she said she like went with her friend to see one of his movies in the theaters.
Seriously?
And she watched it 4 showings in a row. I don't know. I didn't know
What
what to
movie?
say.
Which one?
I don't remember.
Oh
I
my
guess
God.
back
She
then,
could
though,
tell
there
you.
probably wasn't a whole lot out. You didn't have streaming movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They watched
yeah.
it for 8 hours though. They watched
Okay.
it 4 times
like
in a row.
like in a row.
Yeah, the same movie
I'm
over
sure.
and over.
I'm sure modern day Harry Styles girlies are gonna go see "Don't Worry, Darling" 4 times in a row. I'm
No,
sure.
I
it
don't
will happen.
really. You think
Yes.
so?
Yes.
Maybe.
Have you met some of his fans?
No.
I think they're
Thankfully.
equivalent of like modern day Elvis fans in my mind.
My grandma also loves Elvis, but I think it's all that music from that era, right? It's like, yeah.
Well, I'll ask my parents. Maybe I missed something.
Well, I'm glad we talked about Elvis today. Hopefully, you all learned something about something weird that Malaysians love Elvis, and that Spencer is a really good Elvis, and that we thought the movie was chaotic. I think that's pretty much sums up our thoughts.
And Priscilla was 14.
yeah,
when they met.
Priscilla was 14.
Priscilla was 14.
Elvis was racist.
I thought we just proved that
Elvis has left the building.
We said we didn't know the answer to
Oh, we
that
didn't.
question.
Okay, it's unsure.
We know.
I think Spencer would know about
Yeah,
Elvis more.
He was racist.
Is that-
I think I'm the expert on Elvis right now. I read the whole
Elvis
Wikipedia page,
aficionado.
and then I watched one video of Priscilla Presley talking about her outfits.
That makes you the definitive expert.
Source.
The Elvisologist.
Elvis expert.
Oh, yeah.
Elvisology.
Elvisology.
Okay, everyone.
All right. District of Cinema has left the
We're probably
building.
gonna get copyrighted for this.
I don't.
episode.
Well, why? We didn't do any. We didn't like play
my
it.
singing was just too good.
Yeah, they're gonna like flag it as copyright for.
Like that 1 second.
Yeah.
We detected a song in your video.
There's no way that wasn't dubbed.
Yep. Which means that your video will be copyright striked and
They actually
blocked in
mixed,
75 countries.
mixed my vocals with Elvis's for that one.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did actually.
I was
For my-
really
for my
surprised about that.
performance.
All right, that was Elvis. So glad that we can come back for a special episode of District of Cinema, and we will see everyone.
When the Barbie movie comes out,
When is that?
Oh
coming out?
yes.
That's the next
I
one.
don't know. They're filming now, so
we
probably
are.
in a while.
We will be on hiatus until the Barbie movie.
Yeah,
So
I'm joking. We'll
excited.
probably be back, but
we
Yeah.
have to see a movie first, so
We do.
send in
We probably do.
recommendations.
So that was District of Cinema this week. It's been your hosts, Tristan, Koz, and
I almost
Spenser.
just said my name was Christina. I don't even know where
No.
that came from.
Tristan, Christian, Kristen.
Bye.
And we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Play us out,
Bye.
Charlie.
I'm all shook up.
Oh,